So this here is my HP compaq nc4010, which I got for free, and you can see it is in pretty good shape. The only things I've really done to it is upgrade the battery to one that actually functions, which we'll get into that later. And replace a hinge, which wasn't broken when I got it. It actually broke during my use of it. And upgraded the processor, and I'm not exactly sure if I upgraded the memory or not. I've certainly tried, but all the memory that I've gotten for this, for whatever reason, it arrives damaged. And it's very picky about the memory that it uses in the first place, which makes things even harder. But it has a Pentium M, as this sticker right here shows, and designed for Windows XP. I mean, what else? It was from 2004 or 5 or so. And over here, you got a wireless light, and a power light, and then the battery charging light, which I actually do quite like that they're all different colors, which, I mean, could be a bad thing or a good thing depending on your opinion and the colors used, but you will see the colors in a little while. Well, for an unspecified amount of time, we'll just go tripodless, but up here we've got a hard drive light, numlock light, yeah, I think so, and then, well, actually, I guess I'll have to look into that, because that almost looks like a numlock light too, because it's got that symbol on it that looks like a number pad. I guess we'll have to find out. It's amazing that I don't already know. Got a caps lock light, of course, and then standard issue raise and lower the volume, and then the mute button, power button, and it does indeed have, I guess, like a presentation button. I believe there's something on here called a presentation director. That might actually be the IBM name. And then the software-ish button. Well, I guess it's a hardware button, but the interface is in software. It controls the wireless capability, turns it on and off, airplane mode of sorts, and then it has a lock button, which is unusual. I don't particularly remember seeing lock buttons on other computers, but it just locks the system. Kind of the same thing as pressing Start and L, at least for Windows. As you can see, I did actually put a crack into the screen here, into the bezel rather. The screen itself is pretty good. I mean, it is perhaps a bit small for 1024 by 768, and it's not the brightest thing in the world, but it gets bright enough for just about anything. Hinges are classic HP and compaq terrible hinges. But so far, I've only had one go, and I mean, I have done a fair bit with this laptop. I suppose really the only other thing to look at in terms of the front angle is the touchpad and keyboard. It does have the pointing stick. I don't think that that's the actual name that HP and possibly compaq uses. I can't particularly remember. And of course it does have a touchpad. This is kind of like the Presario 1700, if you've ever seen that. It's got like this silver bezel thing, and it's round, and the touchpad I think is round on that too. I'm sure the touchpad itself is square and they've just cut it off, which I don't particularly like that, but I guess it looks okay. And it has two clicky buttons down here and two clicky buttons up here for the pointing stick. The keyboard is, I guess, a bit miniaturized, especially up here for the function keys. However, it is pretty much full-featured. And in terms of special function keys on the keyboard, since they've got a lot up here, there's not actually too much. You've got a sleep key, which, you use the function. I'm sure you know about that. Monitor switch key, that's pretty much universal on laptops. And then a battery key, which on mine at least, it opens the Windows Power Manager properties page and then takes you to the battery tab. Same thing if you right click the icon in the battery icon in the system tray, and and click properties, it would take you to the same place. And that has brightness up and down buttons. As far as I know, there's no on-screen display that goes along with that, which is a bit unusual for compaq stuff, but I've never seen an HP that has it except for Windows 8 and later, which of course is built into Windows itself. But anyway, it has a very hefty latch thing here, and the button is actually down here. So this is a latch. You're probably going to break the screen before you actually break the this latch here, trying to open it without pushing the button. You can see slightly bluish HP logo. My friend has an nc4010, and it actually has a black logo, I think. And let's look at the side here. Rather small cooling vent, but you know, Pentium M's up to I think only 2 gigahertz, which is what I got. Don't exactly do a whole lot of power. And then the hard drive caddy thing, which as you can see, I broke a little bit because I was an idiot. And then there's a screw to undo it. Second battery connector, which I can show you, uses oh yes, they're spoiled big surprise, the docking station. Second battery connector uses a thing like this. For whatever reason, I can't get it to latch on for the life of me, but it goes onto the laptop like that. Kind of clunky, but you know, it does make up at least slightly for the junk battery life that these batteries had even when they were new. And I guess that's worth looking at the bottom. As you can see, there is a Windows XP Professional key there. It's OEM, so I mean, if you have an HP system, you can certainly use it, and it's not going to count against activation or anything because it's basically infinite. And then I believe that this is the wireless card door. It does have a modem. The modem might also be in here. Like a lot of business laptops, this is locked to a specific set of wireless cards, at least with the default BIOS. Came with a wireless G card. I mean, that's good enough for me. Here's the RAM door for one of the RAM slots, which is a bit annoying. They have to open the laptop to access the other one. And of course the battery, which does have a indication of the thing on it, and for some reason it thinks it's discharged when I know it's not, unless it's being even worse than before. Poor thing, I ordered a new battery, and I'm not particularly happy because this was an open box, so who knows if it was actually used or not before. And I mean, the box was physically open, not like open box sort of thing. But it's from 2007, so it's very likely that that's why it's misbehaving. I might have to talk to the company about that if it doesn't stop being weird. And of course, docking station connector. And I guess I'll put the battery back in. I think that's the actual heatsink exhaust. What I showed was the intake. S-video, which fairly common on a lot of HP or compaq laptops, even though an RCA video would have been probably a better choice. But I assume there's probably a technical reason for why you see a lot more S-video. VGA and 2 USB ports. And it almost looks like a lot like the Presario 1700, that there might have been a cover that was either OEM installed on here or was available for purchase to keep dust and whatever out. Only 2 default USB ports are on the rear. They're USB 2.0, and one of them is powered for like a, not a dock, but you know, just like a drive bay for maybe a hard drive or a CD drive. And then the power jack, and I want to say that this might actually be gigabit Ethernet, which is actually sort of surprising for its age. And the modem connector, which has 6 pins for some reason. maybe there's some kind of hidden thing you can do with that. Uh, Infrared, as far as I know, it's probably the 4 megabit that laptops from the late 90s and later usually have, if they have it at all. And then the card bus slot, which, as you can see, I have a USB 2.0 card in there. SD card slot with a SD in here. It does not do high capacity or extended capacity or whatever is beyond that SD cards. So that's just a 2 gigabyte SD, normal SD. And then it has stereo speaker output. It does show it being headphones, but obviously you can connect anything. And then a microphone, I'd have to say would almost certainly be stereo. And then your single speaker. That's right, but not really surprising, at least during this era. This only has one speaker, so your audio will sound like it's coming from the left, because it is. Well, okay, let's see if we can even do anything before the battery completely dies. I mean, I did have it on beforehand, and first discharge of this battery actually went fairly well. I got, well, fairly well comparatively to what I'm dealing with now, but I got maybe an hour and a half out of it, and then it was at like 50% at that point, and then it just, I put it in sleep and walked away from it, and I came back a half hour later, and it was completely discharged, and Windows had hibernated. But it did turn on now. So we'll try to go into the BIOS here, and I believe I was too slow. I guess I can show you the lights, considering that's blinking, I guess, to indicate low battery. If it makes it through the BIOS setup, I'll plug it in afterwards. But let's see here. Is that going to be readable? Yeah, I suppose so. But pretty standard. I call this the Desk Pro BIOS because that's what it's known for, this kind of interface. And a lot of HP compaqs had this interface for a long time. I mean, like, into the early 2010s at least. It has passwords, of course, because it's a business laptop, and drive lock. I've yet to actually set that up. Smart card security doesn't come with a smart card reader by default. I almost think maybe there was a model very close to this that had a dedicated hardware smart card reader, but of course there's the card bus slot that you could almost certainly get a card bus reader for, or a USB one. Embedded security, I'm sure that's a trusted platform module. Device security, which it's kind of strange. You can enable and disable everything, even the CD-ROM and floppy, which you only have if you're connected to your docking station or whatever is plugged into a USB port. And you can set asset tags and whatever, and they will actually display on the BIOS screen. Which, I mean, presuming that this was actually worth more than like $15, you could put your contact information there, like I actually did when I took this to school on a regular basis. Somewhat regular, I guess. I swapped it. I used this instead of my ThinkPad at some points during school, when I actually went to school. And you can self-test the hard drive. I doubt it's destructive, but I don't know if it is or not, so I'm not going to do that. And there, I don't really know what most of this means, and I'm sure most people do, but capacity probably, this is probably your design capacity, full charge capacity, and then remaining capacity all in milliamp hours. And then I'm not really sure what the rest of it is, but you can see that this is definitely from 2007, which is very annoying considering I actually spent $40 on this, on the battery rather, so that's like twice the price of what these laptops can be found on eBay, although I think they're picked clean as of recent. Oh, I forgot to mention it, but right here is a microphone of presumably meh quality, as most laptop microphones are. And of course we've got language options. And then the boot. I really hate the multi-boot way of doing things, but it does work. And then of course you can swap the FN and control keys, which I did actually do, and then speed step settings and various other settings. I don't know why you'd always want the fan on, I guess just to keep it cooler, but it's not a hot laptop even though it is small. Oops, I guess I hit F1. But anyway, let's ignore changes and exit. And this does run Q4OS. There's nothing particularly fancy about its doing so, but I think I'll just show you Windows, because that's probably more appropriate for this laptop anyway, considering it's original. And it is actually a original install using factory media. And please forgive the terrible camera angle as I move this over to the dock. Well, actually, before I put it into the dock, battery life permitting, I'll show you the dock. This is, I believe, the PR1006 dock or something like that. It's got a floppy drive. It's the Armada style multi-bay sort of drive bay, and it doesn't have really anything on the back, but it's for a wide range of laptops, if I remember correctly. But it does certainly get the job done. Has a power button over here, power light over here, and I normally have a DVD drive that I use in this, a DVD burner actually, but I put that in my Armada to watch a DVD a while ago, and I never swapped it back. So not all these ports work. I believe of the ones that I've actually tried to use, this one, the DVI, does not work. And that's not a bug or anything, that's just how it is. I feel like this also doesn't work. But PS2 ports definitely work. The VGA does, Serial and Parallel do, S-Video does, and the USB ports do. And that works as well, and the audio things. Not sure about that one though, I don't have anything that uses that. It does have FireWire, which once again is an unknown. I evidently need more peripherals to test things, but... And of course there is a big warning sticker. But let's see if we can just so happen to plop this in here and not have explosions. Well, yeah, okay. And it does lock it. The 1 is unlocked, 2 is one of the drive bays locked, and then 3 is both of them. It's really stupid. These are hot swap capable drive bays, although it's not exactly, well, on some laptops it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to actually do a hot swap, but these have convenient little buttons over here and over here that you just press. Okay, so, yeah, that's what I thought. For whatever reason, it seems to be a problem with a lot of docking stations that it's just hard to actually get the laptop to fully connect. So it's very likely that the ports on the back are actually not functioning right now for that reason. But it is very easy to get it to charge, thankfully. And as you can see, this does use the HP credential manager to log in, but of course you can use just the default Windows one or no password should you decide to. And this comes with a lot of HP wallpapers, but this one I think I actually downloaded. And then there's one more that's on my friend's computer, which for whatever reason, even though that this is a default system image, it does not exist on this one. But we'll open up the the properties if I can manage to remember how to do that. And there you go. It is an Intel Pentium, as mentioned, Pentium M at 2 gigahertz and 768 megabytes of RAM, but I guess 64 of that is being used for the video memory. It's a IGP 350M by ATI. I think they're the only ones that did the IGP, but I could be wrong. And you can see that by the lower number here that this is the design frequency, but the lower number is the current running frequency, and you can tell by that that speed step is currently doing its thing. I'm sure if we did something intensive it would go back up. This does not have the original hard drive. Oh, the original one actually died. It was working great for a little while, and then, I don't know, it just suddenly died, as they try to do sometimes. Oh, the recycle bin's not empty. But yeah, it'll get on the web just fine. So if I go ahead and, I mean, obviously you have your choice of browser, as this does have SSE2, but just because I have so little RAM in here, and the max is only 1 gigabyte anyway, I go with Pale Moon 27. And I guess I need to turn the router on, and that'll take a moment to boot up because the Netgear R66220 is very slow at booting, although it is a good router otherwise. And of course, if you press the wireless button, the wireless light shuts off. Press it again and it turns back on. This wireless card is natively capable of WPA2, so generic Windows utilities like the Wireless Zero configuration utility can just connect to WPA2 networks, although mine is WPA and WPA2 as a hybrid configuration, but it didn't like my network at school, so I was using a USB wireless adapter. However, it did fine in Linux. So now we can actually go to a website. If I was actually typing. Oh, what a time for the camera to go out of focus. But, yeah, there you go. And I suppose we'll check up on the battery situation using that hotkey that someone really liked, I guess. It says it's at 7% or 6%, depending on where who you ask. And of course, Windows also tells you that it's from June 23rd, 2007, as the BIOS did. I don't think, I mean, that's just a nominal capacity rating. I don't think it was actually that low, because if it was, it surely would have shut off in the several minutes that it was running in the low battery state. It does hibernate, although as of recent I have some kind of configuration problem where it just doesn't resume from hibernation. So I've got to look into that. And we can take a poke at the CPU-Z. For whatever reason, these laptops have stability issues rather frequently. This one is void of any such problem, but my friends, you can do any number of things to it, and it does not sufficiently reduce the problem to null it, but some things do help. And of course you can see that this is a Pentium M. I, of course, did not lie. Various information about the motherboard. Who knows if any of it's correct. It is an ALI chipset. Well, ATI and ALI. Which, if you're not looking closely, you might read those both as the same company. And memory, uses DDR, I think. Yeah, so let me do some math here. I guess that would be, what, 333? Yeah, that sounds right. And it's DDR, of course, so it's running at half the real frequency. Well, half the apparent frequency. And there is this HP Accessories Products Tour, which is kind of amusing because it shows you things that you can't actually use with this laptop. Like, those first two docking stations actually are incorrect. I don't know, I think for some reason, I must have updated this at some point because I'm very confident that this program is newer than the laptop. Especially considering it's showing things that this laptop can't use. I mean, it can use the external multi-bay. I mean, as far as I know, that's USB. And the monitor stand, well, of course. It does kind of show this thing, although it's a little different for this particular laptop, but that's what I showed you earlier. And then, of course, that's just a Kensington lock, which I didn't go over it, but this has, I think, over here. And, of course, there's some lovely music, which actually ain't that bad, but might be copyrighted. We'll find out. Yeah, there is the lid settings if you want it to sleep or whatever, but I don't close the lid on this particularly often because I do live in eternal fear of the hinges breaking, and while hinges are available now, there's definitely a finite supply. And like a lot of systems in the Windows Millennium and XP era, and possibly extending further, it does have a customized version of the Windows XP help. It does claim to be HP Total Care, but I do know that the legitimate HP Total Care is available as a program for Windows XP, so that is kind of strange. I guess maybe this is just a precursor to that abomination. But yeah, it's same Windows help, but a bunch of HP stuff tacked onto it. And of course it has the absolutely lovely HP mid-2000s graphics everywhere. I do have Office XP on here, and I do use this for school assignments for college on occasion. And of course the Mother Nature Assistant, because what else would you use? This does have Bluetooth. I believe I failed to mention that, but for example, I could pair it to these speakers here, which are out of range, and I don't particularly think it's worthwhile showing. And of course, this is running Windows XP Professional, as you've seen, but I haven't actually mentioned that. And it's SoundMax, but it doesn't really even matter because there's only so much quality you can expect out of one tiny speaker. And I do have a few games on here, as I'm sure you've seen. I mean, nothing particularly demanding, and there's only so demanding you can get, but even these games are not going to be stressing it. I have all the games so far on that SD card, which is why they might appear to be slightly slow. Considering we'll come back when this is done. Okay, so yes, I guess I haven't played here on this computer this game before, but we are now. And of course the tutorial. I hope you didn't want to read any of that. I don't even know if I had it on the screen long enough that it would survive compression. But of course the game starts out really simple and slow, but you'd want a dedicated mouse because neither the track point, ooh, that's an IBM term, neither the pointing stick or the touchpad are going to suffice for the later levels in this game. Presuming you can even hear me over these sound effects, because I seem to have the speaker at like 100% or something. Oh, it was actually at 1/3. I guess this thing gets louder than I thought, at least if you're playing Bigger Shop. This is pretty much an overview of my HP compaq nc4010. Especially for the price that these things and their parts go for, it's really not a bad system at all. I mean, it is somewhat limited, and you need a dock or an external. Well, I guess docks are external, but you know, you need an external solution if you want to use floppy or DVD drives, because this has 0 drive bays because it's designed to be really small. If you do need a drive bay, you might want to see about the NC or NX 6000 series. I think is the first one to have a multi-bay built into it. And yes, this is multi-bay. It's ironically it is not Future Bay, because Future Bay was the future, but nope. And even more ironically, Future Bay is the one that actually uses the standard connector. Although it must have some kind of shenanigans going on, because last time I checked, floppy drives did not operate over IDE. But yes, thank you for watching, and have an excellent evening, or morning, or whatever.